Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, or good afternoon, wherever you are in this world, or whatever time it is while you're watching this pre recorded show. Welcome to Live from My Mother's Basement. I'm your crazy host, comedian Mike Marino, and today I'm very lucky. I don't even know where you drove in from, but I'm having one of the coolest, craziest, wildest, most funnest, should I say influencer? I like to say host, because you're a host when I watch you. This is Rossella. I wanted to say Rago. She's not an heiress to the Rago family. She made me aware of that.
No, not even.
How do you say it again? Rago.
My name is Rossella.
Rossella.
Rago.
Rago. How gorgeous is that?
Do you know where the name comes from?
No, but you're going to tell me.
So, guess what my name was supposed to be?
What was your name supposed to be?
Guess. Can you guess?
Rose.
No.
Rosella?
No. They were going to name me, because in an Italian family, you name your children after the paternal grandparents.
Okay.
That's why you have
I'm
families.
Michael.
Yeah, but then in a family, you have 17 Michaels, right? You
Right,
get
yeah.
Big Michael, Little Michael, Joey's Michael, Angela's Michael. So, in my family, my father's mother's name, God bless her, her name was Pasqua.
Oh, wow. That's a nice name.
I
I don't think I've ever heard that name.
Pasqua, it means Easter, Esther.
Right.
Easter.
Oh, yeah. Buona Pasqua.
Buona Pasqua, yeah. I was going to be, so they were going to call me either Pasquatina or Pasqualina. And I was going to be Tina or Lena. But, luckily, not luckily, my father's sister passed away at 32.
Oh.
And her name was Rosa. So my mother goes to my grandma. She's like, since we already have a Pasqua, maybe I could, and she got Rossella. And Rossella means scarlet, like Scarlett O'Hara, Gone with the Wind. Gone with the Wind in Italian is Rossella O'Hara.
That's
You've
great.
seen Gone with the Wind,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
You're old enough to see Gone with the Wind.
Oof. She got me. Yes, I am.
Yeah, I've seen Gone with the Wind.
Mhm.
You've seen Gone with the Wind, I've seen Gone. So, yeah, I'm Rossella.
She has such a great accent.
I'm from Brooklyn.
Are you really from Brooklyn?
I
That's
am.
Brooklyn?
Yeah.
You didn't come here from Brooklyn tonight, did you?
I did.
Really?
Where'd you think I came from?
I don't know. I was thinking Staten Island. Don't get mad.
But everyone from Staten Island's from Brooklyn.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Brooklyn. Wow. It was Brooklyn. You still out in Brooklyn?
I am, yeah. So I was born in Brooklyn, in Bensonhurst. And then when I was 8, we moved to New Jersey. I hated it. And when I was 18, I moved back to Brooklyn.
I love when Brooklyn people, they say they hate New Jersey.
I'm not.
Is it that much different?
New Jersey hated me, to be fair.
Really?
I was not popular. I was a little weird. My brother got along with all the upper middle class Jews. I didn't fare so well. Look at me. I looked like this when I was 8, still. You had this leopard print lunatic with gold hoops running around. It wasn't, I didn't blend. Like in My Cousin Vinny, you blend. I didn't blend. I don't blend. I'm not a blender. I kind of stick out wherever the hell I go. I'm usually in leopard or lemons.
And here I have you in the suburbs.
Me too, yeah.
Have you ever seen an acorn tree? That's right up front.
I spent time in the suburbs, but I feel crazy. I feel like, did you ever watch Sex in the City?
Yeah.
When Aiden takes Carrie to Suffern?
Well, I don't watch that close, but
Well, okay,
yes, I know Suffern.
He takes her to upstate New York, and they chose a place to call it a place called Suffern, New York. Actually does exist, but it's not upstate New York. It's by the Palisades, where you cross the street and it's New Jersey. But there's a joke that she's like, I'm suffering, because she sees a squirrel and she's all freaked out and she can't she blows the oven up. I don't like silence. I like loud. I'm used to having Conchetta next door, asking if you went to the bathroom. I'm used to having the guy across the street watch your parking spot. I'm not used to people.
This is fantastic because I guess there were certain parts of my research that I didn't do. I wasn't thinking Brooklyn at all, but this is definitely a Brooklyn girl. Look how tough she just got all of a sudden. And I'm telling her, got to be careful. There's squirrels, there's trees. And she's probably saying to herself, what's the big deal?
But where the
I'm
hell
from
did you
Brooklyn.
think I was? Did you think I was from England or something? You
No,
thought I was
no.
British? When people are because anybody that has a Brooklyn accent, they, you can turn it on and you can turn it off. Because in the beginning of my career, I started making cooking shows with my grandmother in 2009, and I took it very seriously. I wanted to be a Food Network host, but at that time, there was nobody on the Food Network like me. There was nobody that looked like me, that sounded like me. So I really tried to study what I thought a Food Network host should look like and sound like, and I started to talk like this, like,
Oh, yeah.
I can do that because
Kind of sold out a little bit, you know.
but it's casting. It's not selling out. I thought that was what the role demanded. And my mom is an actress, and I've actually been in the entertainment business since I was 11. I joined SAG in 1999.
Oh, listen to all this wonderful stuff.
My first job ever was the first season of Sopranos. I was 11 years old, and they had this big wedding scene, and I was an extra. And and I fell in love with being on sets. I loved being on sets. I worked as a stand-in on TV shows and movies for 15 years until 2015 when I started doing this full time. And then I love show business. I mean,
I'm glad that you said this, because when I watch you, I'm thinking, okay, well, look at this. This is really, really cool stuff. It makes me hungry. It makes me think about, wish my grandmother was still around, and the good old days. And, I've been doing stand-up comedy about having an Italian family my whole life. However, I didn't even cut my teeth as a comedian until I moved to California. I never wanted to be a comedian. Me and my two brothers, my mother, my father, we all have blonde hair and blue eyes. So you can imagine when we were really, really young, it was bright, thick blonde hair.
Wow.
So nobody even thought we were from an Italian family. We're just considered the Irish kids or the Mitigans. And I'm like, no, my mother, she don't sound like you guys at all.
Where in Italy are you from?
My parents are from Duronia, which is in Campobasso, and we are Bruzzese.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they got blondes there.
All her brothers and sisters are all from the same area, of course, and they came over to the United States around 15, 16, 20s. Some of them died at a very young age too, and they never even made it over.
Yeah.
And then the mass majority of close bloodline is in Toronto, Canada.
Oh, there's so many Italians in Toronto. You should. I went to Toronto when my second book came out, and I was in shock because it felt like New York, New Jersey, Staten Island. It felt like New York, New Jersey, Staten Island 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And they were still very united and still very proud. And still all knew each other. They're all in this suburb called Vaughan.
Yeah.
They're all there.
Woodbridge.
Woodbridge and Vaughan. I love Woodbridge and Vaughan. I would move there in a second. I was J-Lo there. I did a book signing at Costco. They were waiting for me, and no, it was great. I love it there.
No kidding.
I'd go back there in a second.
Well, where are your family from?
My entire family is from a village in Puglia. Do you know where Puglia is?
Well, I've only been to Italy once, and mostly it was to see where my family was from, and I was working on a TV commercial, so I know Rome, Gaeta, the touristy places, and that's pretty much it.
So where I'm from is touristy now because of Instagram. Because we have this really pretty town. Not the one I'm from. I'm not from the pretty town. I'm from the place next to the pretty town. There's this pretty town called Polignano Mare that it's like a beach between two cliffs. There's a restaurant and a grotto that nobody can afford. They're not even nice to you there. It's very pretty, but they're not nice. And I'm from a town next door called Mola di Bari. But both my parents are from there. They immigrated separately. My father came when he was 14. My mother came and stayed when she was about 20. And it's not weird that they met here because everybody from Mola di Bari went to Carroll Gardens, Brooklyn first. From Carroll Gardens, they went to Bensonhurst. Then from Bensonhurst, they started moving everywhere else. But there's about 17 Moles clubs in my neighborhood. They all know each other. They all fight.
There's a Malays club here, too, and if you're not from that area, they won't let you in the club. It's the weirdest thing. I'm like, hey,
nice
we're
people.
Italians.
We're not nice people.
No.
No, we're being from Puglia is like having like a personality disorder.
Is that right?
Oh, you have to do a lot of therapy because you're not happy for anyone. You're very jealous. You're not like, you're naturally mistrustful. The food's great, but terrible mentality. Absolutely terrible. Yeah.
So when did your family all come over?
They came separately. And in 1980 they got married. My parents at the Hollywood Terrace in Bensonhurst. They had the light up floor. Like Saturday Night Fever. My father was a waiter there, so he got a really good deal.
2000 Space Odyssey? What was it called?
That's where they filmed Saturday Night Fever. Right. But the famous hall, the Hollywood Terrace had to copy the dance floor. It was all the rage.
Oh wow.
So
I didn't do Brooklyn at all. Maybe a couple of times. There used to be a comedy club called Pips. I went out there a long time ago. Was that Sheepshead Bay or something like that?
Probably.
Now when I go out to Brooklyn, I go as fast as I can. It scares me.
Why?
I don't know. It's just one of those things.
It shouldn't skip. First of all, most of Brooklyn's very hip now.
Yeah.
You know, it's expensive and hip, and people who don't shower live there. And then the rest of Brooklyn, like, I don't live in cool Brooklyn. I still live in Bensonhurst. I live in like the bowels of Brooklyn. You don't come to Bensonhurst unless you're really into pizza, or you just, you know, you have to, or you know, you still have some like remnant fan. Everybody moved out of Bensonhurst, sadly.
Bensonhurst. There's a guy I know. They call him Downtown Ron. He's from Bensonhurst. You know Downtown Ron?
I do not know.
No? Downtown Ronnie. Well, we'll get to that a little bit later. How I met that man and wherever he went for a long period of time.
You know, they go to college.
College.
They're very studious people in Brooklyn.
They study law.
Yeah, sometimes, you know, you got to go to college.
All right, so the family comes over from Italy. You're in Bensonhurst.
Mm-hmm.
Is that where you are now?
Yeah, I'm
still in
there.
Bensonhurst?
I'm still there, yeah.
Still in the same house that you grew up in, like me?
We still own that house. I don't live there anymore because I love my parents. Love them, but I never want to share a bathroom with them ever again.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't want to.
That's hilarious.
So I live a few blocks away.
Oh.
But when I was in college, I moved back to Brooklyn when I was 18 to go to St. John's University in Staten Island. I was going to be an Italian teacher because when you're, you know, a first-generation Italian-American girl, my first language was Italian. I didn't even speak English till I was 5.
Is that right?
Yeah. So I was like, you know, what do you do with yourself? You don't know what to do with yourself, so you become a teacher and you hope somebody marries you by the time you're 25.
Yeah, I could see that. I just got to stop real quick because our family was completely different. My mother and father said, "That's it. You're Americans. We're not going to teach you how to speak Italian."
But you're a generation before
That's true.
me.
That's true.
And your parents came in a time where, you know, assimilation was paramount for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's true.
The generation after kind of remained Italian because they had these enclaves, these like microcosms. I didn't know I was in America until, you know, I started watching TV. I had no reason to. All my friends were like me.
Yeah, I remember my parents would say to us when we were very, very young, "There's no need for you to speak Italian. You're Americans and that's it. And you guys look American more than anybody, so that's it."
You do look American. You know, I had weird Italian sayings on my clothes. You know, I stuck out.
Mm-hmm.
I looked like an idiot.
But we were. I mean, we are. I mean, remember we used, this area here, there's a street called Cook Avenue. I think everybody's last name is DiFrancesco. And everybody makes wine and everybody makes, whether you call it gravy or sauce. My family said gravy, and they're not from New Jersey, so I don't know what the problem was.
I get along with gravy people. I'm not one of you, but I see you. It's okay.
I get along with gravy people.
We can coexist. I'll let you live. I don't, you know, doesn't bother me. What does it do to me?
My mom, my grandmother, all of those people would always say gravy is made with meat. That's why it's gravy. Sauce is made with marinara, and that's why it's marinara.
As a almost failed Italian teacher, I can say that the etymology of the word gravy does mean that. Yes, that is probably like some guy named Vito was, you know, in the 40s. Was talking to his factory worker friend named Bob, and Bob's like, "Vito, what are you making?" He's like, "I'm making a sugo," because the word sugo in Italian can mean the sauce of many things. It could mean the sauce that you make with meat or vegetables or whatever. And he's like, "Well, what's a sugo?" He's like, "You know, I make it the onion, I make it the garlic, then I put it the meat, and then I put it the wine. All the juice will come out of the meat. It's a beautiful." And he's like, "Well, huh? Like a gravy?" And he's like, "Hey, yeah, you want to call it gravy? I call it gravy. It's okay." And then there you go, gravy. Now we have gravy. It's okay.
I always said gravy. My grandmother said gravy, and they were all like authentic Goombas.
I don't fight with the gravy people.
Yeah.
I got bigger battles.
Yeah.
You know.
As far as I'm concerned, just let me know where you're eating, and I'm coming.
Yeah, I can't get aggravated.
Yeah, yeah. That. Well, this is really great. Okay, so the whole Brooklyn thing, Bensonhurst. Mm-hmm. And then you were bit with the acting bug at 11?
A little bit, yeah.
Screen Actors Guild at 11?
At 11, yeah. I got those waivers. I broke my ass to get those waivers.
Is that right?
Yeah, you had to get 3 waivers, and then you were eligible. Then you were SAG eligible, and then I think the fee at the time was $1,600.
Really?
To join SAG, and my mother paid it for both my brother and I. But, you know, thank God that she did, because I have health insurance because of SAG. You know, today I owe a lot to, you know, the union. I'm really Happy and sad to see the strike going on. I'm happy that Fran Drescher, the nanny, my Jesus Christ in many ways. I mean, is fighting for the rights of performers, big and small. I think to be seen by somebody of that stature and with that kind of career is just really really great. And I think she's gonna do well. I have hope.
Well, let's hope. I mean, let's hope this show actually airs and the strike is over when you guys get to see this. I was in Screen Actors Guild at the age of 13 years old.
Amazing.
To join SAG was $250. And to get into SAG, you had to do a SAG job. To get a SAG job, you had to be in SAG. It was the craziest thing. However, if you did an after job, it allowed you to get into SAG. To do an after job, you could be on a soap opera or you could be on the radio. I actually had a couple of lines on a soap opera. I got in SAG. Then I started working as a SAG actor. At that time, $250 to join the union, and you got health insurance.
Did you do an under 5 on the soap? I remember when there were soap operas, they had these like roles that were like, if you spoke, that was a speaking role, but then there were under 5s, which is like kind of a speaking role, but like not really.
There was a day player.
Yeah.
There was an under 5.
Yes.
There was under 8. And then there was a recurring character. And if you had a role, you had a role.
Yeah.
I actually was on As the World Turns for a year with Marissa Tomei.
Oh, God. Yeah, my other Jesus.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I'll give it...
Shocking, I know.
Give you a little history. As the World Turns starred Marissa Tomei in certain scenes, vignettes they would call them. And in the other ones was Meg Ryan.
Oh.
Now, I never really met Meg Ryan, but I had a bunch of scenes with Marissa, but nobody really knew anything about anybody's future. She was probably 19. I was probably 23. She was one of the stars in those segments with another girl and 2 guys. I ended up getting on the show as an antagonist. You would cause trouble. Luckily, they kept my character coming back. And the lead guy in that antagonistic thing was a race car driver. I was the mechanic and a hot-looking woman. So basically, I had a few lines all the time, and then I would get beat up. That was it. And
Tough
actually,
gig.
I left the gig because I booked 2 weeks in Italy.
Wow.
It was join the Navy, see the world. I was a Navy guy.
Oh, cool.
I was probably 23 years old. They took 6 actors from New York, put us on a plane, sent us to Italy. It was join the Navy, see the world, and we filmed on a Navy aircraft carrier in Gaeta.
Thank you for your service.
Wow.
Sort of. Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, I think this is like, I don't know, maybe 86, 87.
I was born in 87.
Oh, well, hello. They pulled the commercials because the Achille Lauro was hijacked out of some place in Italy, and it never aired.
Oh.
So I lost 2 jobs.
Well,
I lost
crap.
the soap and I lost the commercials.
God damn it.
Showbiz.
Showbiz. Yeah, you get
Showbiz.
there's a lot of disappointment.
But that was at a time where people would go out on commercial auditions like 2, 3 a day, every day. And I saw the same guys auditioning all the time, and it was fun. It was totally a different business. And then when the commercials aired, you'd be like, oh, I can't believe he got it. But you would get the next one. It was a little easier.
Yeah, I think the acting business today is totally different. I don't know that. I mean, I didn't love it when I was schlepping all over the city, walking in the rooms. There's 20 U's sitting in the room.
20 U's.
There's 20 U's, there's 20 cute brunettes. They all look like you. They're all, gonna say, do you want a grande or a venti? Like, there's nothing groundbreaking that you could do. But I don't like that everything is digital now and everything is like a self-tape and everything is like that. Like, I always loved acting. I think I always liked performing. I never liked the business that was acting, and I definitely don't like it now. I think it's not fair.
Sad because there's so many people and everybody and anybody and their sister thinks they can do what we do. And that's one of the reasons why I became a live performer, because when I was pursuing my career as an actor, I was making good money. I was always doing something really, really cool. But when I moved to California, my face started changing, got a little older. Now you're in an any man's category. And you were going up against people who had either major credits or didn't have anything in common with you at all because the network didn't know what they wanted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they never know.
And then I figured, someone kept telling me, you're funny, you people from back east, you're so funny, and you have blonde hair and blue eyes and you're Italian? That could work. So that's what got me into stand-up.
Yeah, see, in LA, they like, the people with accents from the East Coast. It's like you're very rare, and they really treat you well. Here, you're a schnook,
Kind of. I can agree with that because I was about maybe 17 years old, and I'll never forget it. I walked into a commercial agency, and I wanted to go out on commercial auditions, and the lady working there said, "You're never going to work in this business. You sound like a dummy from New Jersey, and that accent's going to kill your career." So I came home. I cried to my mother. I said, "I don't know what I'm going to do." She goes, "Well, why don't you just work for your father?" Construction.
For your father? Yeah, you're lucky you have a father in construction.
Yeah, well, that could have been the choice. And then we used to crash commercial auditions. Like if you didn't have the audition, but you had friends that were going, you could crash it.
Yeah, like how do you crash today? What do you just send an email that you're not supposed to? Like it's
Wow,
nonsense.
I didn't even think about that.
You can't do that today.
I haven't done live auditions really.
But
I can't.
I remember. Yeah, you used to be. I remember when you used to like go to a building and go to an office and like some of mine were so bad. I would like leave and cry because I knew I blew it. But that's the energy of being an actor.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's like sitting in your room. It's like you're sitting in your room taping yourself.
That's what I meant. I'm not good at that. I can't do it. I can't stand in front of a green screen with my sides and just read into the camera. It's not me. I really don't know how. I'm not good at editing. The funniest thing is when that lady told me that, I went to this audition for a United Airline commercial, and I wasn't supposed to be there, but I booked it. And when I booked it, I went to California to shoot it. And at that time, I never even was on a plane. I was 18 years old, 17, 18 years old. I had long blonde hair. They shaved my head. They made me a Marine. Who knew? 3 months later, #1 commercial. Ran for 5 years, bought a house on the Jersey Shore.
Amazing.
Isn't that crazy?
My mother's entrance into show business is one of my favorite stories ever. Do you want to hear it?
Yes, your mom's still in showbiz?
Yeah, she actually is. I mean, yeah, absolutely. Did you ever see the movie Sleepers?
Yes.
Brad Pitt, Robert De Niro.
Sure.
So my mother was Shakes's mother, Lorenzo Carcaterra, the book the gentleman who wrote the book Sleepers that the film is based on, and she got that role because she was a theater actress in Italy, and when she came to America, she had a theater company, a small theater company, and she would write and produce plays in dialects, and perform them not in Florentine Italian, which was actually brilliant because at the time in Brooklyn, everybody spoke Sicilian dialect or Barese dialect or Neapolitan dialect. And these were people that weren't, formally educated. So they really didn't know Italian. So she really made plays so people could understand them. They were all sold out. Her last play was off Broadway, and they did like a week run and then they closed, and my father was like, if we do one more play, I'll divorce you, because it was madness, actors are nuts. Yeah. But she would cast real people, her friends, and she just knew that they were good, and they all were. Like when I watched these plays that were from the 80s, I'm just like, wow, that's like Comata Concetta. Wow, she was a really good actor. Like my mom always had a really good eye for people like that. So one day her friend calls her up, and he's like, you should go to this movie audition. And she's like, I don't do movies. I'm a theater person. I don't want to go. He's like, go. They're not going to pick you. Just go. So that's...
There's the encouragement. They're not going to pick you, but you should go.
You're not gonna, it's like the lottery. You're not going to win. Like, it's just whatever. So she goes, and she thinks she's auditioning for a casting director. And the casting director asks her one question. What would you do if your husband came home drunk? And she was in a really bad mood that day. And my mother's a toucher. Like when we have dinner, like we don't sit her next to new people because she'll grab you, she'll assault you. Yeah. So like she started, and she started smacking the guy around. That was not the casting director. That was Barry Levinson, the director. He loved her. He cast her. And, she came home and I was 8 years old, and she goes, I'm going to be in a movie with the Brad Pitt. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're a liar. And she was like, No, I am. And then like she was coming to pick me up from school. They had aged her, so her hair was all sprayed gray, like when she would leave set. It was such a
It's
crazy
fantastic.
experience. And then years later, my nonna Romana that everybody knows and loves, something similar happens because by then my mom was plugged into like the union, like the cat backstage. She would read back. Remember when Backstage was a
Yes,
newspaper that you had to buy?
The Ross reports.
Right, yes. So she would read these and she saw this one casting for an Italian grandmother, and it was an audition. So she had my grandma and her sister, my Aunt Rosa. She was like, "You two should go. Why not?" And they're like, because they were sprightly then. They would like, take the subway by themselves. They were very independent women. And my mother's like, "They're not gonna pick you, just go." So they go. My nonna books this commercial for the Food Network. It films in South Africa.
Oh my gosh.
In Cape Town, South Africa. She's 75 at the time. And the premise is that, this was even before I started cooking with Nonna. The premise was that a young man in his 30s wants to marry my grandmother because she's such a good cook.
Oh, wow.
And my grandmother has been widowed since she's 29.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah, and like this guy's like nuzzling her, and she was like, at the audition though, they gave me this nice tall young man, and then when I go to the set, it's a short Puerto Rican. And she was pissed.
All right, Nona.
She was like, I would never be with this guy. But she had the best time. They assigned her a production assistant because we were like, "Oh, take care of her, be careful." They're like, no, she'll be a princess. And she got a per diem, like in African money, in rand or whatever. She saved it all. She like squirreled it all away. Like she went shopping with it. She loved it.
So your family's like really in show business.
My
It's great that your
family's
mother.
insane. My parents are crazy. My family.
Do me a favor before we go any further. Could you explain to everybody who's going to be watching this what dialect means?
What dialect mean? What do you? So in Italy, there's Florentine Italian that was a dialect. So they just picked one dialect and made it the whole country's language. So there's proper Italian, which is called Fiorentino or Florentine. And then what I like to think of Italy has is actually thousands of regional languages, because when you're from Italy, especially southern Italy, every single town has their own kind of language, and they say words with different accents and different inflections and stuff. So I speak my town's native dialect that nobody even really speaks anymore. But I also speak Florentine Italian, which a lot of people don't believe. They don't believe I speak Italian because I talk, because I speak English with a Brooklyn accent, I must not speak Italian. And they also think I don't eat, which is nonsense.
Well, you're thin and you're in great shape, so most people would think that you don't eat. But the reason why I wanted to explain dialect is because I don't know how many other cultures actually have it.
Mm.
And I remember when I went to Italy, I did have a little bit of my mother's language in me. So when I tried to talk to people in Rome, they actually looked at me and said, "Speak English."
Yeah, because someone from Rome isn't going to understand you.
Yeah, I didn't even understand that. But it's almost hard to figure out. It'd be like if you're living in the state of New Jersey, but each town has a different dialect.
Yes.
There's just that many.
Language. Yeah. They're languages, because when there's literature and music and in a language, it's a language. So my best friend Pat, who I do the Italian American podcast with, fights and says I don't like the word dialect. They're regional languages. So that's what I call them now.
I remember when I walked in someplace in Rome and I was like, "Hey, get each," and they're like, "What'd you say?" I'm like, "I don't know. My mother told me to say it." She went for this sandwich. We might as well go into some eating because she does do a food show, and I'm glad she picked it up and she bit it.
It's staring at me. It's a good sandwich.
I'm glad you grabbed that. There's a food truck in Scotch Plains, New Jersey. It's called It's called Big C's, and the guy's from Naples, and he makes the most incredible gourmet sandwiches. And I remember when I went over and they said, "You got to go to this guy's food truck," and I'm like, I really don't want to do the whole roach coach thing. It's not me. I want to eat healthy. And they're like, "No, man, you got to go to this guy. He's a chef, a real chef. He actually could come to your house and do this whole big dinner thing." So I thought it might be cool if we bit into some sandwiches, because this is a very gorgeous model type influencer, and I wanted to see how funny she would look grabbing one of these big sandwiches. But now that I know she's from Brooklyn, she's like, "You know what? Get your elbows off the table.
I eat a sandwich like this for breakfast.
Which one do you have?
I have sausage and peppers.
Oh, sausage and pepper.
I
This
think.
is a chicken cutlet. How
This is
gorgeous is that?
It reminds me of the feast, the sausage and peppers. It's good. But I like that the bread is soft. Because when it's too hard, it's a mess. Everything falls. It's a disaster.
It's a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
I heard the Brooklyn in that. I hear the Brooklyn a lot. It's very different from New Jersey. A lot of people say to me when I go to California, "Well, you from Brooklyn?" I'm like, no, actually, they sound a little bit different. That's the outer boroughs. A lot of people in Manhattan actually don't have an accent. It's Brooklyn, Staten Island, Long Island. What else is out there? Queens. They have accents that you can actually separate. It's dialects.
I feel like Staten Island developed a very unique cadence over the years. Like the Staten Island's like twang is different to me. It's like oh, she's severe, that one. Like they just use words that don't fit in context, but like they make it work.
What's going on with your acting career now? Because now that I listen to all of this stuff, I can see that you would be great in a TV show or in movies.
I really don't pursue acting that much. I think I'm very busy with what I do now. I run an e-commerce platform called bottegadelanonna.com. I've written 3 cookbooks. I might do another one, like I'm a smart person now that writes books. I didn't think I was going to go to college, but I wrote books. It's great. I influence, so to speak. I don't really love that term influencer because it's not really, I'm an entrepreneur. First of all, I mean, do I influence people to to cook with their grandmothers? I think so, because I was the first Nonna influencer, Nonna content creator back in 2009, and now everybody, is doing it because everybody has a phone, can do it with their phone. I couldn't do it with my phone back then, You had to create long form content. I really tried to make it look like a real show. Acting, it's not at the top of my mind anymore. I think because I'm not gonna self-tape myself and email it to Susan, in casting and stuff.
But someone is going to be watching what you're doing and say, hey, you know what? I think she might be right for this project that we're doing.
And you know what? If that happens, then that's serendipitous and that's great. And I think that the best actors, come out like that because somebody writes something for that person. And I know from my mother that, when you're an artist and when you're a writer, especially, and you get inspired by a character, then you're going to write a really great part for them, instead of just trying to make these people read words that don't fit them. I think, art imitates real life in most cases.
How did you come up with the cooking show with your Nonna?
So I was going to be a teacher, and I was living with my Nonna in college. I lived with her all through college. I dormed with her because nice Italian girls are not allowed to dorm. My father, Vito's here. He wasn't going to pay for that. He was
Vito's
absolutely
over
not.
here.
Yeah, absolutely
She
not.
came with protection.
It was protection. I mean, he's really just
I
my
admire
ride.
that.
He's my Uber. My dad still has kind of an accent, right,
He
Dad?
does. He does.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. He said yes.
He drove me here. That's why I don't. That's why I didn't like Jersey either. I didn't like to drive.
This is the suburbs.
Yeah, I don't like it. So we were having dinner one night, and he was like, what do you want to do with your life? Because you're gonna be a terrible teacher. We all know. And I was like, you all know? Did you have a summit and decide? Maybe you wanted to tell me that. And I just blurted out, I want to have a cooking show one day. That's the greatest job in the world. And we both looked at my Nonna, and she was, being cute, cleaning the table. And I was like, he goes, we should call it Cooking with Nonna. That would be so cool. And I was like, oh yeah, that's funny, whatever. So a week later, he bought me the web domain, cookingwithnonna.com. And it was like a big deal then to buy a website.
Yeah.
It's not like today. It was then it was cool, the internet was new, guys.
The .com era.
Yeah, it was a thing, Then a week after that, he started construction on this rollaway island that if you watch my old YouTube videos, I would cook on this island. It had wheels and it would roll out of the kitchen and stuff, and it had a stovetop so we could, film appropriately. And we had a set and we had a website, and we were like, shit, we got to make a show now. And, you know, we just, we hired a production company, which was the dumbest thing we could have ever done. And we just started doing it. My mother called my friend's mom. She's like, Rosalia, you want to be a Nonna on Rossella's show? You know, my mother was head of casting. And we just started making episodes. I had no idea what I was doing, but I was doing it.
Is Nona on your father's side or your mother's side?
Just my mother's mother.
Your mother's mother?
Yeah. And then she quickly kind of became like the Beyonce of what I do, because she's all the Nonna that I've worked with. I mean, I've probably cooked with over 100 women in since 2009. But my Nonna means something so special to people. I think everybody sees somebody that they loved in her.
Yes.
Whether it was their mother, their Nonna,
yes.
the lady across the street.
Oh.
Because she's very my Nonna is the last of the Mohicans. You know, no hair dye, no makeup, the stockings, never wore pants in her entire life. She's just really that old school.
The house coat.
Yeah, the Vestalia. Yeah.
That's house coat in Italian?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We always said house coat.
The house coat, house dress.
You're 100% right, because when I watch, I look and I say to myself, oh, man, if only my parents were still around.
Mm-hmm.
Only if my grandmother was still around. She dressed like that. She acted like that. And she was just that kind and sweet. And the food was more important than anything. And the family was more important than anything. They didn't even know. And, you know, I never said pasta till I moved to California.
Macaroni.
It was macaroni. We had macaroni twice a week, and then Sunday at 3 o'clock. Didn't even say macaroni. Macaroni's.
The macaroni.
It was an S on the end.
Put the max on.
Yeah, my mother would say, "Wake your father. The water's up." That's my dad. Yeah.
What's happened? Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's
Always
going
here.
to the bathroom.
Your dad's here. My dad's here.
Yeah,
That's great.
we're protected.
Yeah, it's great.
But I miss that so much. And growing up here in this house, everybody did do everything, especially in this town, in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I called it Live from My Mother's Basement.
That's where I lived with Nonna, in the basement.
In the basement.
Yeah. We were renting the other floors out, you know.
Yep.
No, I'm not.
That's
That's not even supposed to be funny. That's literally how we live. I mean, that's how Italian people live. You have like the nice area. It's the showroom where you got all your china closet and stuff,
Yes.
and your plastic covered furniture, whatever. And then you do your living in the basement.
In the basement. And we're still in the basement. We're still living in the basement.
I
My
love
mother,
a good basement.
you know, half the things that were done here in the basement were technically illegal. To have a stove down here, to have a bathroom down here. There's
Yeah.
no vents. The smoke would have to go out a window pipe or something like that. But it is now, because I remodeled it to make it legal.
Of course
But
it is.
the corner is still the same. And that's where my mother would cook and have all. And then, of course, the table in the corner is for the kids' table, and then this table here was for the adults. The kids always said, you know, I can't wait till one of the adults passes away so I could bump up to the adult table.
That Formica held up beautiful.
It's not even from this house. They would take things from other people's
Yeah.
houses and put it down here.
Because
So
it's still good,
It is.
you know, because why waste it?
Why waste anything? You know, if we have to, we'll make a fort outside for the kids. It's just really, really great that you're doing what you're doing. I enjoy watching, and it does. You struck a nerve. So many people look at you, Nona, going, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, look at how nice this is. And you're really, really talented at what you do. So you
Thank
wrote
you.
3 cookbooks?
Yeah, I did in 5 years.
Holy crap.
Yeah, it was a crazy time, but
And
yeah.
so you're a gourmet cook? I mean, you like, how do you know how to create a cookbook that you know all these recipes?
Because when I was in college, I mean, I always took cooking for granted. I think I always learned through osmosis because of the family that I was in. My family is a really big food family. Like, we would jar the tomatoes every September. My dad makes limoncello. You know, my mom, she's a little lazy in the kitchen, but you know, when she has to cook, she cooks, and she cooks better than like normal people. You know, and my Nonna always cooked every single day. So I knew how to cook, but I thought that was normal. And then when I went to college and I saw that people like didn't cook, they had microwaves. I never had a microwave growing up. We weren't allowed to have one.
Yeah, I don't think we had a microwave.
So like I knew how to make pasta, and so, you know, that's easy crap, you know? And I guess I just didn't realize it was exceptional until I started, you know, my cooking show, and I just the time that I lived with her, it was like going to my own little culinary school because she would cook something different every day, and I would get to see her and I would get to watch her do it. And I would get to learn, I would be doing my homework and she would like sprawl out the tarali to glaze them. And I'm like, I have a paper due, they didn't understand boundaries. Nana doesn't do boundaries very well. You'd be like in the shower, washing your hair. She'd like open the curtain, be like, what do you want to eat later? And I'm like, can we have one conversation when I'm not naked? Just one. Because, she grew up with 7 kids in her house. And,
oh, yeah?
Yeah, in Italy. And, there was not a lot of privacy.
How many brothers and sisters you have?
I only have one. And I joke. I say my brother's a Jew.
Why?
Because he's, like, not Italian.
Oh, no?
No, not at all. No.
Really?
Yeah, and he moved to Canada. Ugh, not even close Canada. He moved to very far away Canada. He moved to Vancouver Island, Canada. There's no more Canada left.
Why would he go there?
A woman.
Oh. Canadian woman.
A Canadian one. She's lovely. I gotta say, she's very nice.
She's not Italian?
She's not Italian, but she's wonderful. It's she's a doll. I love her. She has my nephew now, and we recently took a trip to Canada, to Comox, British Columbia, where my brother lives. I call it Coconuts. Actually, my mother called it She's like, hey, when are we gonna go to Coconuts? And so now I just call it Coconuts. And I documented it all on my Instagram stories. And people were invested in this trip to Coconuts like you have no idea, because it took 3 flights and 18 hours to get there. Because Vito, the travel agent, we couldn't do, New York, Vancouver, Coconuts, right? There were no flights? No, there weren't, right?
Oh, you had to take puddle jumpers.
Are you sure? No, because at first, listen to what he says to me at first. At first, he goes, okay, so it's going to cost over $1,000 each to go there. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, but if we take a plane to Seattle and if we take the plane to Vancouver and drive to the island, it's a little bit less, but not a lot. But if we take the plane to Seattle and drive from there, it's like half of the price. And I was like, are you talking about a 6-hour flight to Seattle? Then we got to take a 4-hour drive to Vancouver, and then another 2-hour drive to Vancouver Island? Are you on drugs? Was there no donkey option? Why don't we just walk? Like, honestly. So here I am. I'm a 36-year-old divorcee sitting in between my 2 parents on the tiny planes. They were all, because it was 3 short flights. So it was like tiny planes, and I'm just like the Curb Your Enthusiasm music. It's playing in my head. It's like da 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 da. Like, because when you're my age and your parents are that age, your parents are your kids. And when the parents that I have, my mother's like a crazy actress. So it's like you have to have the juice boxes, and you have to have the snacks, and you have to make sure everybody went to the bathroom, and you have to, it's like you got to watch them. And who's using me for a pillow, and who didn't get their pretzels. And it was a lot.
Sounds like a stand-up routine.
It was just, no, I don't stand up. I'm sitting down.
You're going to have to do some stand-up.
No, I
you
can't
would
do
be
it.
hilarious
No,
on
I can't
stage.
do it. I'm not funny like that. I trained at the Upright Citizens Brigade because I wanted to be funny like that. I thought I could have been funny like that. Turns out I'm not that funny, and I'm too attractive.
Well,
Yeah.
that could make a lot of sense.
It
I
did-
think, but I'm going to show you some things that I'm working on, and you're going to say, you know what, I'm right for that. I could do that.
I could
I could
probably
make
do
that
it, but
funny.
like a stand-up set, I think what you do is tremendous, and like what stand-up comedians do. What people don't realize is that you write a set.
Yes.
Stand-up comedians are all writers.
We are.
And you have to be a good writer. And then
Yes, you do.
And then you got to perform what you write, and you got to hit it every single time. And that's not easy to do, because sometimes the people are taking it, they're receiving it and stuff, and when you have that energy going, it's great. And then sometimes there's people and everything falls on the floor and you want to kill yourself.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, it's a hard.
Wow.
I don't make them laugh every time. I make people laugh a lot, actually, but
When you say, you have to take care of your parents, this is going to become slowly but surely some of my new stand-up, because I do take care of my father.
Yeah,
And I find myself talking to my father the way he spoke to me when I was a kid. I said to him the other day, you know, as soon as you're done eating, you're going right to bed because I can't take it.
Yeah, you're in timeout.
Yeah.
That's it.
Who taught you how to act like this? What kind of a guy are you?
Yeah. You.
It's sad, but that's the reality of how the world changes when your family gets older.
Oh, my mother with Facebook and TikTok and stuff. I didn't want to do it for her.
How come your mom's not the side chef like Nona?
Because I think it skipped a generation. I mean, listen, my mother is good at lots of things. I mean, she's an artist. She's a painter. She went to the Academy of Fine Art. She's a painter. She's a writer. She's a an artist. An actor. I mean, we need more things. Like,
Right.
She's good at some stuff.
No, the Nona is a good pick. I mean, she's really, really great.
But now my mother is more the Nona. It's just a natural progression of life because my Nonna is 90. She suffered a stroke last year. She can't do what she used to do anymore. So my mother does come in, and cook with me sometimes because, she loves the adoration. Angela loves loves an adoring public. But when she's like, her videos go out, she has her own account and she comments back to everybody. She loves that. She loves. My mother would have been a fantastic actress, like in the 40s. Like when Joan Crawford would sign all her.
Yeah.
Would wake up at 4:00 in the morning.
She's not in the business anymore, your mom?
She is, but she wasn't at that. She never got to that but she would be signing all her autographs by hand
Right.
and mailing them out.
But she admires what you're doing. She's like, wow, this is really cool.
Oh yeah, both my parents. I was very blessed to have supportive parents, to have parents that are a little bit crazy, like the good crazy. To have parents for, old school Italian first generation parent, generation zero parents. My parents let me model. They let me try so many things. Like they really never told me, Rossella, be realistic about anything. If I had a crazy, stupid dream, they made it crazier and bigger and stupider. They never told me, go get a city job. Go get a job with benefits.
Yeah.
Go into,
But watching your show, from what I see and what I know, it kind of looks like a big network would just pick you up and say, hey, this is a great idea. We love what you're doing and we'll air your episodes. Or is that just something that you hear all the time?
I hear that all. I mean, call me. I'm here. What do you? I'm easy to find. What do you? Call me. I'm available. Sure, but it hasn't materialized that way. And if it does, it does. If it doesn't, I think I was almost on TV so many times. I had a shopping agreement with this production company and this production company and this manager and Abrams artist told me nobody was ever going to watch the Marissa Tomei cooking show. So that's when I changed my voice. Joke's on you, Todd. And I've just heard no so many times, and I've had so many things fall apart that people don't realize. I started such a long time ago. And then you see, like what you were saying earlier, like when you see an influencer open up for you or something. When I see these kids that they get a viral video because they ate a sandwich in their car once, you feel some kind of way.
We'll be right back after this commercial break. Oh my gosh. Well, hey, it's funny because when I watch, coming from my background and what I feel and what I see, I'm just like, oh, wow, I would rather watch that than Rachel Ray. Put that show on the network. I'll watch that show. I want to be in the studio audience and I want to meet those people. I want to be on that show. And then I'm like, you know what? I want to do something with those people. That's what I see.
Yeah.
And you do it so well. In my mind, I'm like, wow, they must be extremely successful. I wonder if they're making a lot of money. And then I call my producer and I'm like, I got to get that girl on our podcast. Let's talk to her. Let's see what she's doing. I want to talk to her about the voices we do in my series called The Adventures of G.I. Giovanni, which I'm going to show you because maybe you would like to be one of the voices in the show. Oh, cool. And what I am fortunate enough to do is when I do my vignettes and we put them on YouTube, we get some streaming deals.
Oh, cool.
And I use stand-up comics in what I do so that we can tour. So if I was to say, hey, The Adventures of the G.I. Giovanni is airing Thursday night at 8 o'clock, or if you want to come and see the cast live, we're Friday night at so and so's comedy club. So they meet us, yet they get to see the actual show.
Oh,
I
well, very
capitalize on
interesting.
it. So if I was to say, hey, catch Rossella from Cooking with Nona as Barbie doll in the G.I. Giovanni series, they'd be like, oh, wow, she's doing the voices in that series?
I get to
And I'm
be
like,
Barbie.
yes.
Oh,
Oh, wait till I show you what we're doing. You're going to want to do it
okay.
because it's so stupid funny. You have to. I'm lucky enough that we did that, and it comes from silliness that happens in my life, like
As
like what you do.
as most things do, you know.
Yeah, I think it would be really cool. I'm gonna show it to you.
Cool.
You're gonna be like, wait a minute, I'd like to try that.
Well, you know,
And
a
a lot of
network. I'm not dead yet, so a network could still pick me up.
you're never gonna be dead.
I'm
You're gonna
not.
keep on going. You got a great vehicle, and I like the way you talk. I like the way you present yourself. Who even knew all of this? I thought I did enough research to have you on the show. Now I
What
feel
did
like
you
no.
know?
Watching the Instagram
What
shows,
did you know? Like, what did you? What
Cooking with Nona.
just cooking with Nona? Yeah,
Hmm.
I mean, it's you know, I'm lucky. I've had a long, kind of a long career still at this point, and you know what? It takes. I think because I kind of wasn't successful for such a long period of time that like there was kind of like a time in that was so dead where you're like asking yourself like should I be doing this? Is this worth it? What am I doing? Like, you know, as most people who start their own things do because, you know, I had side jobs. I mean, oh my god, you wouldn't believe the things that I had to do to
Yes,
like
I would. I
to
would
to
believe it.
to make money and then you know and then you start doing better and then you start doing better and then you but I always and then people think that you just started now, you know, and I always say it takes 10 years to become an overnight success
30 years.
or 30,
30
yeah,
years.
or 30.
No, when I'm watching your show, I'm saying, okay, this girl's killing it, and I didn't think it was that long of a period of time because it does look like wow. I wonder how long they've been doing this. Probably a year or something like that.
Yeah, I
Shot
mean
through the roof.
I can always tell when somebody's new though,
Well,
when somebody's
we'll talk
successful.
about that off the camera
I,
because when you mentioned the people in biting a sandwich in the car, I say to myself, why do I
yeah,
bother writing jokes?
yeah, like why,
Why
like
do why do I even bother? Son of a bitch.
you know, I, I I see it too. I think we all feel it. Like the thing is that like I've had such a different path that the way I respect, you know, the medium of filmmaking or video making, as we have to call it today. I mean, until you're wearing a summer dress and pretending it's in 20 degrees and you know you're not allowed to pee because the AD says that you can't go to the bathroom yet and we're waiting to break for lunch and you're just trying to get to your second meal penalty and you just got to get enough SAG days so you can make your insurance that year. You know, I worked to be here so hard for so many years in a capacity that most of these people, you know, just eating sandwiches in their car making funny videos will never have to understand,
So happy that you just said what you said.
you know.
Pay attention, everybody. Did you hear what she just said? She broke her ass to get to this level, and she's going to keep on breaking her ass till she gets to another level. And that level is going to say, you know what? There's another level, and you're going to keep on going.
But
Because there's something about being in the entertainment business that you can't shake it. It's like a drug.
but I
You
think
have to have it.
it's also about being Italian American and like being raised with such really strict like work values. I mean, my parents are kind of both workaholics. We never really rested. We never believed in in extended vacations and stuff. And you know, I think when I wrote my first book, like I showed my father. My father was like, "Good, do it again." You know, like it wasn't like, "Oh my God, my daughter wrote a book." Like there was no party. You know, we celebrated. There was no trophy for me. And I just always treat the top of one mountain like it's the bottom of another one. You getting a call? Somebody's calling.
No,
Who
this
is
house
it?
is so old school. It still has a regular phone that never rings. It's a landline.
Who is it?
I have no idea. It's probably solicitation because no one knows this phone number anymore.
Wow.
Isn't that something?
A person is calling the phone.
Could be the neighbor saying, "Who's in the basement?" What are you guys yelling about? It's the first
I
time.
am loud.
Yes, I like it.
Sorry.
Yeah, we're gonna get a
Yeah.
good recording.
I'm not docile. I'm not like one of those quiet little
That's
people.
great. Well, you mentioned just a little while ago, divorcee.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
You have kids?
No.
What happened?
What do you mean?
The divorce. What made you get a divorce?
Uh,
Italian people usually stick together no matter what.
He sucked. I'm great. We got divorced.
All right, perfect.
It's okay.
And we'll be right back
It's
after this
fine.
commercial break.
What are you gonna do?
Getting back to 3 cookbooks.
Mm-hmm.
How many recipes do you know?
I know a lot. You know.
There's that many recipes that you can have 3 cookbooks?
Yes. See, there's an infinite amount of recipes. I mean, the books are the first 2 books were the recipes and stories, because I don't just write cookbooks. Whenever I write a book, I never want to set out to just write a cookbook. So I interviewed 30 different nonna for each book, and I wrote their life stories, because I really wanted it to be about the women behind the food, you know. And like, nonnas are people that, you know, you kind of took for granted until now. Now it's sexy to be a nonna. Now it's cool. But, you know, nobody ever thought, like, this is the cornerstone of a family. Like, I should say thank you. We should really, like, you know, pay tribute to women like this, who just, they were ordinary women living extraordinary lives, as far as I could see. So I included, my first book, I think, had 140 recipes.
Wow.
I had to test them all myself, because I had a small publisher, and, you know, there wasn't, nobody writes books to be a millionaire unless you're a real housewife. Oh, and you have to write the books yourself when you're not a real housewife. I found that out the hard way. And you have to test all your recipes, because otherwise, you know, people are going to make the stuff and it's not going to come out good, and they're going to get really pissed off. And they were all going to tell me on Facebook that they were very pissed off at me. So I tested 140 recipes in 30 days. You know, and by the end of it, I looked like I made meth in a garage. It was just me and a gallon of Carlo Rossi in a dream. And then the second book was a holiday book. Same amount of recipes. I'm insane, you know. I had a mental illness. I just don't learn. And
Nothing repeated.
A few of them, like 10 maybe repeated. You're not allowed to repeat too many. And then the third book is called Cooking with Nonna Sunday Dinners, and that came out last October. And that book, I wrote all about my Nonna. So I wrote her story of immigration, first to Venezuela, because she went to Venezuela first, and then she came to America. So, and I wrote about, it was really like a love letter to my Italian childhood, to my Italian-American identity, and I included a lot of dishes that were a fusion of Italian-American cuisine, because Italian-American cuisine gets a bad rep. Where it's people say that it's not real Italian food, it's blasphemous, you know, we're Gavones over here. But I think, to me, I wrote about SpaghettiOs, and how I really wanted a can of SpaghettiOs because I wanted to be connected to my American side. And my parents said, you know, if you bring this in the house, we're going to kick you out. So one day my nonna felt bad for me, and she made me SpaghettiOs, but like from scratch. SpaghettiOs are really a ring-shaped pasta called anelletti, and they're from Sicily. And then she made meatballs, and then she made a sauce. And, you know, she wanted me to feel like I was Italian and American too. So I included a lot of dishes like that really represent, that are unapologetically Italian American. You know, I parmed everything.
Did you know the history of Chef Boyardee and how they actually made that? Cans?
I don't know. I know he's
'Cause
from Ohio.
I remember when I was going to grammar school and the kids all had Chef Boyardee mini raviolis, and I would say to my mother, "Mom, I want those mini raviolis," and she goes, "I will slap the shit out of you. You ever come home with that
You're not
can?"
my son. Yeah.
Yes, no way. Your mother eats fresh. We don't get anything from a can or a jar. Nothing's from a can or a jar. And I'm like, yeah, but the kids, they ate it. And I was in San Francisco, and I saw a history about Chef Boyardee. That's his real name. They changed it to Boyardee.
It's Boyardi. Boiardi.
Yeah.
Boyardi, yeah.
The TV commercials.
But they
were
changed
cool
it to Boyardee.
something
so
like
Americans
that
could
to
read it.
jingle. And
Yeah.
from Chef Boyardee, and then you're
Yep.
like, well, I gotta have it.
Yeah, it was addictive. Oh, you know what I was obsessed with? My friend who was allowed to have a microwave, because I wasn't allowed to have a microwave. Kids cuisine. Those
I don't even know
TV
what that
dinners.
is.
They
Oh,
were
TV
they
dinners.
were TV dinners, but for kids, and they would have like mac and cheese or something, or this terrible and then they had this shitty brownie. I would have killed for that shitty brownie when I was 7. I really would. It was amazing. I wanted those things so bad, and I was never allowed to have them.
Let me ask this question because I was in Los Angeles for a really long time, and there's not a lot of Italians out there, but on the outskirts of Los Angeles, there is. There's San Pedro, there's
One of my
San
best
Francisco.
friends runs the Italian American Museum of LA. So there's Italians there.
Gata.
Yeah, got it. Mariana, you know her?
Very well.
She's cute, huh?
Yes. She's still single?
Yes.
Boom. She never returns my phone calls.
Oh.
Nothing.
Uh-oh.
Here's a strange thing. I was on the board of directors and one of the creators of the Feast of San Gennaro in Los Angeles.
Okay.
It was 12 Italian
With
guys
Jimmy
and girls.
Kimmel?
Yes.
Yeah.
I could tell you how the whole thing started for real. We'll talk about that when this taping is over.
Ooh.
So we all collaborated. We all got our shit together, and we made one of the most incredible feasts probably in the United States.
Uh-huh. I heard good
Fifth,
things.
sixth year, it was out of control. We dwarfed the size of New York. Then towards the end, I think 12 years later, it all started falling apart because Italians fight.
Yes.
And their egos destroyed
We can't get along.
everything.
We're not like the Jews.
And it's kind of strange. It was heartbreaking. I was kind of like, what are you all arguing about? We're supposed to all be on the same team. And we lost the Feast of San Gennaro. We lost the Sons of Italy. And then we lost Columbus Day.
Oh.
And I was around for all of that. And I fought and fought and fought. And away it went. So I hope it doesn't happen on the East Coast.
No.
Mariana Gatto, yes, she's in charge of the Historical Society
She's a
in
doll.
Los Angeles.
She's the best.
Met her time and time again.
Love her.
Love her.
I love her. She's great.
So do you ever think that sometimes maybe just the Italians just don't stick together the right way?
We don't stick together at all. I mean, and like the Jews say, when one Jew makes money, 5 Jews make money.
Mm-hmm.
Italians want one Italian to make money and 5 Italians to go broke.
It's sad, isn't it?
Like, how do you unite us? How do you unite a people that cannot agree on a meatball recipe? We can't agree on anything.
I went on a talk show about 10 years ago, and the producer was a friend of mine, and he said, I need you to hit a home run. I'm new here, and you're on the show. Please do something out of control. So I went, let's make America Italian again. The motto was going to be, you don't know nothing, you don't see nothing, you don't say nothing. And it went fucking viral like crazy. And I was just a comedian thinking, you think that would be funny? And my friend got a raise, and now he's one of the executive producers over at the network, and I ended up touring the country.
Well, that's good.
But I did have people say to me, you shouldn't talk like that. The Italians need to show that we're not in the mob, and we're not this, and we're not that. And I go, who said that? I didn't say that. I was kidding. It's a joke. And
there are those Italians that don't want to be Italian. They're the self-hating Italians. That they don't want to, and that they don't want to be Italian American. I think the Italian American culture almost has a negative connotation, to some people now, and they associate it with cafonery. That's a word I made up. Gavonery or something. And I've always maintained that Italian American food and culture is very much its own culture.
It is.
And we should be proud of it.
What other culture has that many dialects?
But it's more about it's just about the influence of America and roots in Italy that creates such a beautiful culture that I'm very proud of, and that I live very proud, in every aspect of my life,
Absolutely. You are absolutely fantastic and great. I'm glad that you could care less about sauce or gravy because you're just coming to dinner no matter what, as long as the good people are coming. I know a lot of people like to say to me, why do you say gabagool? Why do you say manigot? I'm like, I don't know. My mother did.
But
Oh, that's a Jersey thing. She's not from New Jersey.
But who
I don't know
cares?
why she said that.
Why do we have to always
I
take
don't
ourselves
care.
so seriously? Like, people get mad that I say sfogliatella. I know it's sfogliatella. I know, or, who dies because I said sfogliatella?
Oh, is that the way you
It's
say it?
cute.
That's the way I said it.
It's nice.
Fredo.
It rolls off the tongue better. It's like, when people overpronounce Italian words all the time, when it's just like not the time or the place, it annoys me.
I don't even like shoyatels. I'm not even
They're
a
not my
I'm not even a
favorite
cannoli
either,
guy.
but I use it as a euphemism for something, and I'll tell you later. But like it's like the schwalya. It sounds cuter to me. I like it. Why can't I say it? I like it.
We grew up on icebox cake.
Oh, icebox cake. That's
Icebox
like when
cake.
you do a layer
Graham
of cookies
crackers,
and then
yeah.
you put the pudding, and then I've done an icebox
Graham
cake.
crackers.
I do an icebox cake. I make it Italian, but I make it.
We grew up poor, so you got icebox cake,
It's delicious.
and it was delicious.
I love icebox cake.
Supposedly, we had macaroni all the time because we were poor, and it was easy and cheap. That's why I tell people all the time, if you go to a restaurant and the pasta's expensive, you're not going to like it. Go to a regular place, and they'll put a lot of pasta in the plate, and it's going to be delicious. And then you're going to go home with some extra.
My favorite place to eat like 1.5 pounds of pasta at a time is Ortobello's on Bay Parkway in Brooklyn, in Bensonhurst. Andy will give you, it will give you 2 pounds of pasta. The portions are enormous. You can't finish anything.
I love that.
It's
See,
terrific. You would
go
like it
home
there.
with extra. Yeah, I'd be afraid. I got to go to Brooklyn, but I'll go.
Why do you think Brooklyn's scary? What
I
do you
don't know.
think's in
Everybody
Brooklyn?
thinks the mob's in Brooklyn.
The mob has not been in Brooklyn. Not 30 years ago. Jeez.
The good old days.
They're all in college. They're all studying.
Hey, Benny, how long you been in college? You're 40 years now. Tell everybody where they can find you on the internet and where they can buy your book.
I'm at Rossella Rago pretty much everywhere. ROSSELLARAGO. And I am Cooking with Nonna on Facebook. You can buy my books everywhere. Books are sold. But if you want an autographed copy, go to bottegadellanonna.com. I know, guys, it's a horrible name. Bottega was already taken.
I like it. Thank you so much for coming down the basement
Thanks
and hanging out with us.
me.
I can't believe you came all the way from Brooklyn to hang around with me in my basement. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. I want to thank my producer, Tatiana Bluchel, for always making sure we have a great podcast. You can watch me every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock, exclusively now on my YouTube channel, which is Mike Marino Live. And you can also listen to it on Spotify and all your podcast favorite channels. And go to MikeMarino.net and find out when I'm performing in your neighborhood. I have a funny feeling I'm going to get her to come with me on tour, and you're going to see something really, really funny and special. So let's make America Italian again, everybody. You know my motto. You don't know nothing, you don't see nothing, you don't say nothing. And how do I end? Every single one of my podcasts would always saying the same thing with my guest. Don't take no shit from nobody.
I never do.
You ready?
Yeah.
No, we're going to say it together.
Oh, okay.
Don't take no shit from nobody. Notice she said, I never do. She's the first person on the show to say, I don't take no shit from nobody. I'm going to end it like that from now on. Bye. Hey, folks, I hope you're enjoying watching my podcast live from my mother's basement. We're having a lot of fun, and I'm going to have a lot of great guests on the show in the future. So if you like it, hit like. You could also leave a comment. You could subscribe to my YouTube channel and watch other funny videos. And you could also listen to my podcast on your favorite podcast app like Spotify and iTunes.